Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from my new series, Gems from My Human Design Experiment. So I recently published the first episode that was about my relationship to social media. And today I've got episode 2, it's really a big one. I have given it the name Wounding and Purpose. By all means, it's not exhaustive. It's also not, it's personal. It is a personal perspective of my own journey, in these last 42 years on this planet. And especially in the last 5 of my human design experiment, my deconditioning process, all of the things that I have really started to observe powerfully as a projector. And although I am technically here to know others, this has just been such an invaluable asset to what it is that I bring to others. So look, I gotta just put it out there. I am by far not the world's greatest human design analyst. I'm not even a certified analyst through the International Human Design School at this point. I'm pursuing analyst training. I'm about to begin PTL3, professional level 3, working with incarnation crosses. And yeah, this is just really kind of like a pet project through my own lens. And I really struggle to universalize from a place of feigning perfection and like I've done it all and I'm above it all. Those of you who know me know that actually my most fulfilling work comes from my absolute humanness and all of the things that I have really found challenging, but how I have been able to reframe a lot of that through awareness. And so this really is a great place to begin. If this is your first time here to my channel, welcome. If you are coming back, welcome back. I'm Melanie Halpert. I am a 5/1 quadrite splenic projector, so very quirky, creative, super intuitive, investigator, an advisor to those who recognize and invite my guidance. And you'll see how this left angle cross of wishes kind of ties into some of the things that I'm bringing to the table today. I've been in the field of holistic health for over 2 decades now. I've had my own private practice doing healing work and now a lot of human design work. It's been 15 years since I've had my private practice. And I'm currently a certified Living Your Design guide and human design analyst in training. And it's been a really interesting time of getting clear about my values. My personality sun is in the gate of values. And it's just been, just kind of profound to be sitting with that and looking at the pillars of my work and the things that are really important to me. So these really are the things. It is about celebrating uniqueness. It's about cultivating awareness, encouraging self-responsibility, and fostering authenticity. And I'm so fortunate that somehow life, my trajectory, my fractal, all of this has really led me to be able to learn and to teach really through those pillars. And it's just been really, really rewarding and beautiful. Not always easy, but very rewarding. So this series, Gems from My Human Design Experiment, really is kind of taking a look at a lot of the this and that. In my last episode, I went a little bit, just touched upon a few different facets of the this and the that of human design. And I'm actually in the process of putting together a new website, and there will be a little bit more about that as well, because when we have access to our birth data, so our birthday, date, accurate birth time, location, this is really the most precious, precious thing that we have, because it gives us so much. And one of the real powerful juxtapositions of human design is where conditioning, so the things that we take in from the world around us that can actually dramatically influence our behavior and our actions, how through awareness can lead to our greatest wisdom potential. So each of us, we do have a unique imprinting that shows us what makes us different from everybody else. But the thing is that we also have a unique configuration of the way that we're designed to be conditioned. Conditioning can get a really bad rap and people want to avoid it, but we're not here to avoid it. We're really here to become aware through this conditioning to be able to get into deeper alignment with who we really are. And especially for me as a projector, it really is one of the things that is most important is my ability to be conditioned. However, the however is when we're not aware, it can really, really take us off track, and it can lead to a lot of unnecessary suffering and pain. So what I did here today is I made a little slide here with a great quote from Ra Uru Hu, the original messenger who brought the human design system to us. And he said, we as an entity are made up of two things. We are made up of a specific imprinting, and that specific imprinting is imprinted out of a very complex matrix in which we have receptors to everything else. So when you have a gate that's open, basically what you have is a receptor, and that receptor is not only attracted to what's on the other side, but it pulls the other side to it because it is the nature of our geometry. So geometry is something that has been just so fascinating to me, just coming into this knowledge that each of us has a unique trajectory in life. We have a unique geometry. Some of us have a personal destiny. Some of us have a fixed fate. Some of us have transpersonal karma to resolve depending on the angle of your cross. And with our openness, so this is where we are receptive. It's that we have these receptors that are basically just looking to plug in. And while it can be very painful, it can also be really, really, really incredible learning experience. So my jam, the thing that I love most, it's all about cracking the code. So before human design, starting, from way back, but more formally as of 2006, I really got into the mind-body connection, consciousness-based healthcare. It's just crazy when I see all of the things that are really trendy now and how I really got into them before anybody knew of them. And it's kind of been a running theme for me, being almost like on the cutting edge of whatever it is that can really be a game changer, but having to wait for the collective to catch up. And so this cracking the code, even before human design came into my realm, it was a huge part of my work, working with people who had all kinds of symptoms, oftentimes mysterious symptoms, persistent, stubborn symptoms that weren't resolving no matter what they would do, no matter what specialist they would go to. And in fact, what led me to that was my own health crisis. That was very nebulous. That was, it was very difficult because every time that I was trying to find a solution for it, it would shapeshift. I was being given advice and treatments and this and that, but nothing was working until suddenly I came into the field of holistic health and pieces started falling into place. And in my work, I I feel like the most powerful catalyst for things to shift is really the awareness that whenever something's going on in the body, it's because on some level there's a message. But oftentimes we can't hear it. We can't hear it. We can't see it. It can be very veiled from us, and it's been a real honor to be, I don't know, I guess what you could say, like an advocate for the messenger of the message, and being able to crack that code, help my clients crack that code. So human design has just taken this to a whole new level. And this is it. I mean, cracking the code is really about getting to the crux of our true nature. Who are we really, according to our unique imprinting and differentiation? So this is what's on the left hand side of the screen. When you look at your body graph, what is it that you're transmitting? Where are you the student? What is fixed in you that you're broadcasting 24/7, that's reliable, that makes you unique, that is your true nature, your unchanging nature, versus what's on the right, which is where you are designed to be a receiver, where the student in you is going to school, what is flexible and changing depending on where you are, who you're with, what's going on in the cosmos, that is unreliable, that is conditioned, and that represents nurture. So our true nature and what we're here to learn through who we are not, who we are not. So today, this presentation is really something that is, I don't know, I guess maybe the most important thing in my life. And human design, I guess, has just really been a confirmation. I mean, more than anything, it's been a confirmation for all of the things that I've just felt and experienced in my life, the things that I found challenging. And even though we can see these things in a more broader context, whether we're reading about these things in books, I was always so interested in psychology, but now having this tool that really pinpoints who we are as unique beings and the way that we're uniquely designed to be taking the world in, the lessons that we're here to learn, it just really brought things up a notch. So this whole lifetime for me is so deeply tied into my bonds, so my relationships with other people. And although there's been a lot of pain, I have developed such a deep reverence, not only in my personal relationships, but also in my professional relationships, because I'm really observing that what I'm here to learn is what I'm here to teach. And I know that that can sound cliche. I mean, yeah, technically, I guess we are. But when you really see it in action, and it can really help you become empowered and reframe the things that have imprisoned you. I mean, it's somewhat miraculous. It has been somewhat miraculous for me. So in my design, I actually have not only my personality sun, so my life's work, my conscious core essence in gate 50, where there's a little star. So this is the gate of, this is values, this is the cauldron. And it is in this quarter of duality, purpose fulfilled through bonding. And so not only is that where my conscious core essence is, but I actually have 11 activations in that quarter, including both of my north nodes. And so the nodal environment is the stage upon which we fulfill our purpose. And the north node is our future direction, where we're moving to. So my trajectory moves me even towards that quarter, in addition to all of these other activations that are truly wrapped up, not only in bonds and relationships, but whether they're healthy for me or not, or what is healthy or not within the context of these bonds. As a projector, I am here to know others. And in many ways, this is my real superpower. But you can see this depicted below the body graph. I've got this superhero to the left, and then this cosmonaut getting sucked into a black hole on the other side. And then this is a reality for me, that while I'm here to know the other, which is a mega superpower for me, I can also get very lost in others. And what I've started to notice is that bonds actually provide the contrast. So they provide different contrasts, but one of the contrasts that it provides is helping me to recognize what I am here to be recognized for or not. So there's, like, when you study human design, you learn that for a projector, that unlike a generator or a manifesting generator who is really here to know who they are, unlike a manifester who is here to be aware, become aware of their impact. How do they impact? And for a reflector who is the natural evaluator of any given environment or community. I mean, as projectors are here to know the other because we are here to guide those who recognize and invite our guidance. And so technically, it's kind of a waste for us to navel gaze and get really hung up on dissecting ourselves and analyzing ourselves. But due to the nature of my design, I really see how in so many ways, what my relationships bring to me actually in turn really helps me bring value to the correct relationships in my life. And as a left angle, the left angle has transpersonal karma to resolve. Every single person who crosses my path, there is a reason greater than I can even know. And if somebody is meant to interface with me, there's not a stick that could beat them away. I mean, it's just, there is a very, very precise purpose and timing for everyone that I encounter and for everyone who encounters me. And on the left angle cross of wishes, even though I am by far not an expert about incarnation crosses, and technically, I mean, it's just through alignment that we kind of end up like our purpose is lived through us. It's not something that we're here to engineer with the mind. But I'm seeing it so tangibly in my own experience that it really is about the possibility of a better way. And while I am here to lead, I mean, on many levels, not only am I a perfected form alpha through my definition, but I'm desire motivated. And I realize that this could be, there's people watching this that might not understand the terminology. Some of you might, but basically, for me, the way that works out is that I'm kind of here to just lead through following a way that is correct, that is really aligned to my inner authority. And it's just through following that way. It's like, it's not that I am trying to lead anybody anywhere. It's not like I'm saying to them, follow me, do what I'm doing. But it's just like, here, like just being an example in many ways of what is working for me consistently, what has the legs. which values can go the distance. And leading through that, a lot of it has to do with my own experimentation. My whole life is a cauldron of alchemy, on many levels. So a big thing is witnessing, observing patterns through my relating, patterns that teach me a better way in order for me to then teach others a better way. I'm learning a better way through observing these patterns, and oftentimes very unhealthy patterns, breaking those patterns through awareness. It really is only through awareness that awareness and realignment, that is what brings the most profound shifts. And each and every one of us has our own inner compass. I have a video. I think it's maybe the least popular of all of my videos, which I find so amusing. I think it's the shortest one. It's about 20 minutes. One of the first ones I posted, Signposts of Resistance. I forget what the tagline is, something like about our being our greatest ally and gift. And the whole premise of that video is, and this is something that I talk about so often in my one-on-one coaching and readings and all of that, is how just like a smoke detector, an annoying smoke detector that goes off when you're just cooking something in the kitchen. It's just like, you just take it down. Sometimes it could go for weeks. It's just there on the side table until one day you realize, wow, this entire house could burn down, and we were negligent. So you put it back up, and then it's, lather, rinse, repeat. However, like the whole purpose of that smoke detector is really to save your life. So each and every one of us, we have exactly what it is that we need inside of us to reorient autonomously without anybody outside of us policing us. It is so clear. But the problem is that most of us, we are so conditioned and we're so used to that smoke detector, the alarm from the smoke detector just going off all the time, that it's become just an annoying background frequency instead of serving its true purpose. So the more that we calibrate and align to who we truly are, when that alarm goes off, it is tangible to us. It's no longer that annoying thing we're just kind of desensitized to. It's like we are resensitized to it in a way that actually is useful to us. So for me as a projector, my signpost is bitterness. I'm here for sweetness and ease in my interactions with my signature of success. It's not necessarily about the dollar bills. It's not necessarily about what I have. It's really about sweetness and ease in my interactions. And so I know now, 5 years into my experiment, I know now that whenever bitterness shows up, it's not something for me to get rid of. It's a clue for me. I get out my little detective, my little magnifying glass, and I get down to it. Like, okay, what's going on here? And oftentimes it'll come back down to the same things. Either I initiate it when I'm here to wait for recognition or an invitation, or I accepted something, I entered into something incorrectly. So those are oftentimes for me the two big things that will lead to that. But yeah, no matter what your type is, whether you're a manifester with a signature of peace and a signpost of anger, or you're a generator or manifesting generator with a signature of satisfaction and a signpost of frustration, or you are a reflector with a signature of surprise and a signpost of disappointment, we each have something that is foolproof. Foolproof. When you recalibrate properly to that, man, it is like we don't need anything else. We don't. So my bonds, whereas I used to get so imprisoned by the bitterness that I would just be like, I'd be marinating in it forever. Just like beating a dead horse. Now it's just been the most incredible tool to bring me back into alignment. And in my own body graph, well, especially, in my own body graph, I've started to notice how many clues there are that are all revolving around healthy or unhealthy relating and involvement. And this reverence of bonds, it's just been so powerful because um, through my observation and through these understandings, I've really been able to release blame, shame, and guilt from a lot of places that I would harbor that totally unnecessarily, and bringing a lot of pain, not only onto myself, but just kind of like poisoning bonds, situations that it was just completely unnecessary. So the whole point, this video of the videos of this series, even though, yes, we are looking at things that are pertinent to me and to my own process, it's just like, you've got your own treasure map, and there are so many incredible things to discover in it about your own wounding and your own purpose. All of this is about really sparking your curiosity about yourself, and also knowing that there are people on this planet who would be really excited to help you crack that code if you're not in a position to do that for yourself. So getting a little bit deeper into my wounding and the not self, it's really intense stuff. It's stuff that's private, but at the same time, something that I talked about in my last video is it's kind of like this concept of how we can feel really alone and really self-conscious about something and really ashamed about something when we are not the only people on the planet who are going through that. And from the copious amounts of research that I have done into certain patterns, certain experiences, things that I've gone through, I know full well that I am not alone. So there might be some of you watching who, even though you have a very different design, maybe there's some things that we have in common, but maybe you have your own configuration that is conducive to some of these things. And just how refreshing it can be when you see, okay, so yeah, there are all of these problems, but yeah, there are also all of these solutions too. We're all a combination of nature and nurture. But when we're able to take that nurture, and nurturing, it is what's the word? There's a broad spectrum, because some of that can actually be really toxic. Nurturing in the sense of what it is that we're taking in, but whether it is beautiful or whether it is not, when we become aware of the way in which we're designed to take it in and what that does to us, that is where the real shifts can happen. So for me, I would have to say that the thing that marked me the most in my childhood was the birth of my little sister. So no matter what our type is, we all have things that are, just concretely going to be very wounding, whether we're looking at manifester and this whole thing about being controlled, we're looking at a generator or manifesting generator, being told instead of being asked, or there's just all of these different ways that we can experience that wounding. And for a projector, it goes without saying, everything for us revolves around recognition. We carry such a powerful gift of recognition, of recognizing the other. We can see so deeply into the other, and there is nothing that is more precious for us than having someone else who can recognize us. It's just, if you're not a projector, I don't even know how understood it can be. Not to say that I haven't interfaced with other types who really, really are just who recognize me in the most incredible ways. But yeah, I mean, it's just our thing. And so when I was a when I was a kid, I don't know, I developed really quickly. I was reading really young. I don't know, just this like little bright thing. And I was the star. Like it just was what it was. I was the first child. I was the first grandchild in the family. And when I was 3.5 years old, my little sister was born. And interestingly, whereas I am a 5'1" and a quad right, she is a 5'1" and a quad left. She's a generator. And while I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics here, the one thing that I really want to bring up is that my sister, one of her channels is the channel of initiation, design of needing to be first, which is it's a very competitive channel. And it's not to say that my sister is somebody that I recognize as being overtly competitive. But why I'm bringing this up is because for me, little Melanie, little projector, with this tiny baby sister that came along carrying this. And I mean, this channel, this life force that my sister has, I didn't have anything in that channel, totally open. So here I am taking in that energy and amplifying it, because that's what we do. When we are open, we take in that energy from the outside and we amplify it. So my childhood, I mean, I wasn't aware. I was just a kid. And here this other baby comes along. Suddenly there's all this attention on her. And all the while, I am being super conditioned by this tiny little being to compete. So, as it turns out, my mother is a 6'2" sacral generator with a completely open solar plexus. So some of you who are familiar with human design can understand some of the dimensions of this, but 6'2" definitely can be aloof. And with a completely open solar plexus, this is not somebody who is designed to be a like a fuzzy Care Bear. And this is not to say that my mother doesn't love me. My mother loves me immensely, and we have a fantastic relationship. But this is just about what happened when I was young and how it conditioned me to behave literally for the rest of my life until I became aware. So what I learned was that I had to compete for attention. I had to compete for love. I had to compete to be recognized, none of which is true. And with my mother as this role model, kind of like role modeling that energy for me, then what ended up happening was I would end up seeking out people with that same energy that I would just be playing out that same thing with over and over and over and over again. And I mean, in many ways, using it to either determine my sense of self-worth or lack thereof. And so what I ended up learning is this not self persona. It really is who we become and what we do to get what the mind thinks it wants. We're going to go into that in there's a future slide that kind of goes into that deeper. And so what I have kind of really come to observe with this core wound, and we are going to go deeper into something that is really I've seen as my core wound, and where I meet retribution. When I'm operating out of alignment with my values and with my law, we each have our own inbuilt values, our own law and protection. We meet retribution. And so for me, my wounding, and when I'm operating out of alignment, it will attract the very thing that my mind thinks it wants to avoid, and it repels the very thing that my mind covets. So what my mind absolutely wants, this carrot on a stick. And so it was crazy the other day. I don't even know where I came across this, but it was some quote that found me. We spend so much time chasing after things we think are going to offer us relief, when what we need to be doing is resolving the pain that made us chase the thing in the first place. Now, one of the things that I really am vocal about in my work, especially when it comes to our signature. So the signature: peace for manifestors, satisfaction for generators and manifesting generators, success for projectors, surprise for reflectors. What happens is that, we get so busy chasing that from the mind. It's like we don't trust that by being who we are, by actually living in alignment with who we are, that will be a natural byproduct. So we have to get it. We have to do things to get that, which is always a recipe for disaster. And who knows, I might end up making a future video that goes more into detail about that. So something that I touched upon a little bit in the last video, but also I've realized that there was an angle that I didn't even really present. It's like looking at the condition centers, and it could be really exciting. One of the things that I think it was Peter Schober, it was one of my favorite human design analysts and teachers. He does incredible forecasting. You can get his forecasts on Jovian Archive, and he has this amazing book called The Centers. And I think it was really with him that I started to geek out about the ways that the different centers can kind of like operate together and have their own agendas together. And this really is by no means like fully comprehensive. It's just certain things that have really stood out to me and that are really apparent. So I have these different groupings, and I'm sure that there could be other groupings and subgroupings, and also looking at these undefined centers on their own. But I can really see that I've got these two undefined awareness centers. So my ajna center, a center for conceptualization, and my solar plexus, the center like emotional intelligence. So these are two awareness centers that are always being conditioned. And it's become so clear to me that the conditioning of these awareness centers, one of the big things is that that I can get really into acting upon what my mind is certain will bring pleasure and fulfillment. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And then also my motors, which I did talk about in the first video. Acting upon what my mind says will bring recognition for my availability, productivity, loyalty, niceness. And this is really, really, really massive for me, especially as a quad right, who is extremely receptive and here to be a passive observer, and how powerfully conditioned I can be by other people and by the transits also to do and keep up. And this is really not at all what I'm designed for. I'm here to be really wise about the fuel or the energy of others, whether it is their heart center, their ego, whether it's their solar plexus, which is also a motor, as you can see, in addition to an awareness center. It's actually primarily a motor, and it's an emerging awareness center. This is very big. I don't know if any of you have seen my video about 2027, but the coming global cycle shift, this is the center that's undergoing major mutation, and there's going to be a shift in anyways, that in itself is a whole other topic, but I go into it in more detail there. And yeah, so it's a motor center and an awareness center, whether we're looking at the sacral or whether we're looking at the root. So all of these, they have ways of definitely influencing my mind individually, but also as a group. And then, of course, the pressure centers, and acting upon what my mind says will bring reward in getting things resolved for others as quickly as possible. So getting dragged into other people's dramas, confusion, doubts, wanting to figure things out, their questions, their inspiration, and whatever is priority for another person, it can end up really hijacking me. And then I can just go on, like go crazy trying to get things done for people as quickly as possible. And ultimately, all of that is to relieve the pressure. So none of this is who I am. All of these are things that I'm here to become wise about. But I've made a slide here that goes even deeper into things. You could see here, I've got the cauldron. And not only is this cauldron representative of my personality sun, and I could have maybe broken out my pen a while ago and drawn on things. I apologize if you would have maybe liked to kind of like follow along a little better with my narration. But I'm just gonna grab this thing here. So in addition to my conscious core essence being in this gate of values, which is the hexagram, is the cauldron, something that has been just so incredible for me is my physical environment. So the actual physical stage upon which I fulfill my purpose, where I be. And we've got these gates, we've got these lines, and then we've got information underneath the line. And I happen to have an environment. So each of us has a very specific environment that is aligned to who they are. Mine is all about alchemy. I have a third color environment. And so everything is about alchemy. And what has been really eye-opening is that if you notice, this environment, both of these gates happen to be in centers that are undefined. And so in many ways, my entire physical environment in which I find myself, this is always something that is being conditioned, that I have very big wisdom potential to gain here. And so what I've realized about this is that my whole life, this is really about the alchemy of revolutionary relationships, observing and learning about the chaotic patterns that repeat in my relationships and what is healthy for me or not. And even though I really do not feel that I am super gifted when it comes to analysis, especially in the way that is maybe expected from us according to the traditional education, International Human Design School, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of embracing things in my own heretical way. And one of the things that I'm exploring is I'm exploring different activations and the relationships and interrelationships between different activations. So I would have to say that the biggest revelation for me recently has been to look at this energy in our design. So wherever we have Mars is traditionally referred to as immature energy. According to the gene keys, our design Mars is the core wound. So I've been really interested in kind of like going deep and seeing what keeps me stuck on this hamster wheel. Like, what is it? What wound? What is this thing? And how is it tied into my life's work? Like, what am I here to really learn about this dynamic? And how do I end up getting punished as a result of not learning the lesson, not being in alignment with who I am? So I'm just going to clear this. And so this activation in my design. So really interestingly, this is in the gate of correction. And it is in the line of therapy. And there is, okay, in true fifth line style, it is a fifth line activation. I am a fifth line personality. Irony is a really natural big theme for me, but it is really this irony of, it's like, what is my real life's work? But what have I kind of made it my mission to do that is really not my responsibility? I mean, this is huge. It's really, really, really huge. So I have noticed that this wound, which is right here in the splenic center, which is defined, it's all about feeling responsible for healing the unfulfilled parent. So in addition to the wounding that I talked about before of needing to compete for love, for recognition, for all of that, I mean, I think each and every one of us on some level has maybe witnessed our own parents struggling on some level, maybe somewhere where they've been unfulfilled. And I guess one of the ways that I learned to, I don't know, to turn my tricks has been to just kind of take it upon myself to fix, to heal the unfulfilled parent. So whoever it is that I would perceive to be this unfulfilled parent, whoever would really resonate to the frequency of what I experienced growing up. Now, we all know that as a projector, when we interfere, when we meddle, when we get involved, when we impose our guidance upon somebody who has not recognized us and who has not invited us in that way, it can be really abrasive. I mean, really, really abrasive. And just kind of even going back to one of my first introduction slides when I was talking about wielding our energy in responsible ways. And this is something that I also talk about in my projector video, From Lemons to Lemonade, and how when we really, really grasp like the frequency of our aura, I talk about it as well in my, I think it's the first video that I published all about the manifestor projector relationship. And it really, it's like talking about how our focused and absorbing aura, it can be the most beautiful gift for somebody. I mean, it's kind of like it could be that sunshine on a desolate day when we shine our light on that person. But if they're not in space for it, or they haven't asked for whatever it is that we are putting out, it can be really, really, really repellent. So I wish I could say that I have mastered this completely, but I mean, this has been one of the hugest things for me, and it has already dramatically shifted my relationships and my own fulfillment, understanding the way that that works and why I would encounter resistance when operating out of alignment. So this immature energy here, which is in that line of therapy in many ways, has been taking responsibility, that gate 50, the fear of responsibility, the awareness of what is, I guess, a healthy responsibility for me or not. But I would just totally get into this place of almost like imposing my solutions onto other people. Let me be the solution. Let me provide the solution to your pain. Let me be the solution to your pain. And what would end up happening is that in pursuit of what my mind thinks would lead to love, recognition, success, I would end up abandoning myself. I would end up rejecting myself. And I would end up then encountering that on the outside. So of course, I mean, I would end up basically being very attracted to the very people who would end up, it would just be this self-fulfilling prophecy, choosing aloof and unavailable people who had problems that really weren't mine to fix, nor was I there to become a solution for their pain, for their problem myself. So getting into these situations where I would crave closeness, connection, pleasure from those who could not, really could not provide it to me. And interestingly, this gate over here, which is one of the places I end up meeting retribution when I'm out of alignment with who I am. This is the gate of friction, intimacy. It's all about intimacy, conflict resolution. It's just nuts how, in so many ways, my own fear of intimacy would fuel this vicious cycle. And so in that, there was this mechanism that I started to become really aware of. Now, as a fifth line, I definitely I have a I carry a tremendous projection field. And in many ways, I am here to provide solutions to the correct others. The seduction that the fifth line has is to serve a purpose, is to get the message out. But what ends up happening is that there can be a lot of distortion. So there could be this heavily mentally engineered distortion of my true nature, where to get all of these things that my mind thinks it wants from the absolutely wrong people, I would end up doing what I could to be indispensable. And where I was kind of coming in like that knight in shining armor, swooping in, I can be the solution to all of your problems, the femme fatale or the fantasy. When the true seduction and solutions of my design have nothing to do with any of those things. And so getting caught in this hamster wheel of expectations as a 5-1, and I did a really pretty thorough video about this, gifts and challenges of the fifth line profile. I talk a lot about being on this hamster wheel of other people's projections, and then saying yes to things, fulfilling these projections of others that really are not correct for me. There's so much about that. But what's really interesting is that I've started to notice how it's not only about what I feel is expected of me from others, but I could get into this whole thing where, well, if I fulfill this real or perceived expectation, then the other will fulfill my expectation of what they need to give back to me so that I can truly feel loved, valued, recognized. In a very healthy situation, this is something that's effortless. It's like you don't need to be keeping score. But the bonds, there were very specific bonds that were really teaching me these lessons. And what ended up happening is that I would end up becoming very victimized, and I would end up acquiescing for approval. And so something that has also been really very powerful for me is that I am somebody who is designed to fantasize. And ever since I could remember, even being a young child, I could get very lost in a fantasy world. And in many ways, it was great. And if there were things that were painful in my reality, I could use it to dissociate and to just kind of like go to a better place where I didn't have to deal with those things. And in many ways, just like chasing that carrot, I could definitely attest to having used fantasy in ways that are actually really almost like violent towards myself. But in more recent years, and especially with human design as a tool, it's been just phenomenal to see how this, which is truly, I mean, a really powerful activation in my design, it is my unconscious grounding and stability. Depending on what it is that I'm plugging into, it can be a completely different experience. And so what I'm learning too is that this can be a very, very healing tool for me, because in taking a step back and observing what it is that I'm fantasizing about, I'm able to actually see all of these things that I have felt are missing, lacking, that my mind thought that it needed to chase to be whole, and how I've been going about it in completely the wrong way. So I don't know, this is just kind of what came out of me about all of this today. I don't know if on a different day I would have explained it differently, if maybe there would be different aspects that would come out. But the bottom line here is that these relationships in my life, even the ones that have been painful, even the ones that have been all about me chasing the wrong thing with the wrong person, have been enormously helpful, not only in helping me realign to who I really am, but just unraveling all of this, like unraveling something that has just been a thorn in my side, a mystery for my whole life. It's like finally feeling settled with all of it. I can't even tell you what a gift that is for me on my journey. And so we can have these battles, and some of these battles are totally useless, and some of these battles are battles that really matter. And what I've discovered is that the useless battle, I'm sorry for those of you who find the demon on the mirror really traumatizing. I don't know if that's even one that I used from another presentation, but it just perfectly illustrated this thing that I can get so caught up in doing, this mental shadow boxing. I mean, when I end up barking up the wrong tree, when I am chasing after the wrong person or the wrong situation, and I am not getting what my mind thinks that it wants from that person, the mental shadow boxing that can go on is unbelievable. And how easy it is to demonize the other, to blame the other, to make the other person responsible for my suffering. Well, if they weren't like this, then, I would be happier. I would feel successful. I would feel recognized. I would feel good. All the BS. And also getting hung up on the way that I perceive the actions of others and using that as a way to either validate my sense of self-worth or lack thereof. I mean, this has been a really, really big one for me, is really using what I see somebody else doing, whether real or perceived. I mean, this person might just, their behavior might actually be that, or I could be interpreting it in that way and taking it really personally and then using it to justify my own distorted internal narrative, and then actually really poisoning a bond that it doesn't have to be like that. It's like I am the one who is responsible for shifting. And it's not about condoning toxic behavior of somebody else. It's really not. And I need to make that super clear in this presentation. This is not about justifying or coming to the defense of other people's toxic behavior. This is about us taking responsibility for our own misalignment and the way that we wield our energy and becoming empowered as a result of coming back into alignment through awareness. So this is really the useless battle. However, the battle that matters, I really like this slide. I had a lot of fun putting this slide together because this is like the big event. You can see in the middle of the slide, we've got this boxing ring, spleen versus the mind. So my inner authority, what it is that I can trust to make healthy, aligned decisions, is my intuitive awareness. And unfortunately, this is the most quiet, whispering thing, albeit I will say it can be persistent for me. And it's like the spleen going head to head with the mind in the arena. So whereas the useless battle was this dumb shadow boxing with the other person, blah, blah, blah. No, the battle that matters is actually how the mind is always like trying to dominate do a TKO, whatever, knocking out our inner authority, the voice of our inner authority, what it is that actually leads us to correct, healthy, fulfilling decisions. And both with my feeling cognition and my splenic authority, I have a super spidey sense for red flags. And yet, I also have a PhD in ignoring red flags. I do. I mean, this is a thing that I have come to learn in retrospect. It's like, oh, yeah, I totally picked up on that. Okay, but I just kept going, forging ahead, doing what my mind thought that I needed to do to get what it thought it wanted. And so you could see here on the left-hand side, there's this like, red flags. And then on the right-hand side, hashtag because goals, hashtag like a boss, hashtag winning, number one. It's like, how do I get that? And so this whole like wounding for me has been about kind of like proving my worth and getting this recognition for kind of being that person who can fix, who can heal the unfulfilled parent. It's like, well, if I can bring them that fulfillment, if I can be the solution for that, then I will be loved. It is so distorted. That is really not what my life is about. And something that we really start to see when we look at things is this fine line between the healthy expression of who we are and the distorted expression of who we are. So looking more at my purpose and my true nature, the wisdom potential that I have cultivated through awareness of these really unhealthy patterns through my relating throughout the course of my life is that, I mean, in spite of really being here to illuminate the possibility of a better, healthier, more fulfilling way forward for others, it really is for the correct others. It is really for those who recognize and invite my guidance. It is not about my wounded inner child that is seeking recognition, love, approval. It's a very, very different frequency. And I have the ability to really see down into the core of things, to hone in on crucial details that others miss and understand how they connect to the bigger picture. But when I am mired in the bitterness, mired in the wounding, mired in chasing after the wrong things, that ability to see down into the core of things and to hone in on what others miss, I end up becoming blinded by obsessing over trivial details that actually do not matter and that keep me victimized and that keep me enslaved by other people's needs, other people's priorities, other people's stuff, instead of being aligned to who I am. And so when I'm in alignment, when I am actually working with those who have recognized me, where there is mutual recognition and I'm invited to guide and it's correct for me to guide, I can really help to target and repattern that which sabotages the well-being and potential of that other person and empowering them. So wherever they may be stuck, stagnant, victimized, lost, helping others crack their own code for success. So look, I mean, I shared a lot of personal things today, things that I was always very self-conscious about, things that are just not very flattering. And yet, at the same time, it's just really keeping it real. We all have wounding from our childhood. We all have certain patterns, certain things that we do, certain behaviors and things that we act out in order to get what the mind thinks that it wants or wants to avoid. And there's no point in just it's like I wasn't magically born onto this planet knowing everything and having myself together. Like I just wasn't. And this is still learning in progress and experiment in progress. So look, for whatever it's worth, I'm just, I don't know, working with my own creativity, experimenting with my own creativity in hopes that whoever stumbles upon this, whoever actually takes the time to listen, if you are still watching, congratulations. I know that it's been a mouthful, and that it really has been kind of all about me. But hopefully it has provided something of value to you in your own journey. If not in the content, then potentially in whatever possibilities exist for you in your own life and in cracking your own code for success. So thank you so much for stopping by. Stay tuned for more experiment gems. My new website is still in the works because obviously I've been prioritizing making YouTube videos. And yeah, I am offering personal chart overviews, coaching by design. I don't know when my next Living Your Design Awakening experience will be, but I'm also something that I'm also doing and really passionate about is providing leverage and support for whether it's industry leaders, coaches who don't have the time or energy to learn all about human design, but who would like to bring human design to their clients. So if you're interested about any of that and you'd like to connect, you could reach me at info@melaniehalpert.com. And in the meantime, until next time, cheers to your own experiment. Take care.